You know how sometimes you get that weird feeling that someone's watching you? Well, this story starts way before that feeling kicked in. I'm Jasper, by the way. I fix computers for a living, nothing too exciting. But what happened to me on Interstate 75 near Cincinnati changed everything. So it was like 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was driving back from my cousin's wedding in Louisville. The rain was coming down pretty hard. You know how it gets in Ohio in October. My windshield wipers were making that annoying squeaking sound they always do. I kept meaning to replace them, but never got around to it. Then boom. My right headlight just died, just like that. The road got way darker on one side. I could barely see the white lines anymore. I put on my hazards and pulled over to the shoulder. There was this green exit sign glowing above me. Exit 22 for some small town I'd never heard of. I was just sitting there wondering what the hell I was gonna do when another car pulled up behind me. The driver flashed their headlights 3 times. Then they did it again. I remember my dad teaching me that code when I was 16. It means, follow me, I'll help you out. So I felt pretty relieved, honestly. The car led me off the exit ramp. We ended up at this weird little strip with a gas station that looked like it was from the 80s. Only one pump was working, and there were these old chain link lights hanging around the place. Kind of reminded me of my grandma's backyard, except way creepier. The guy who helped me was wearing a baseball cap and seemed friendly enough. He said his name was Mike or Mark, something with an M. He had this toolbox in his trunk and insisted he could fix my headlight real quick. He pointed to this open garage bay and said we should pull in there so we wouldn't get soaked. While he was messing with my headlight, I noticed 3 other cars had pulled into the lot. They parked really close to us, which was weird because the place was mostly empty. The drivers just sat there in their cars. None of them made eye contact with me, but I kept catching them looking at my license plate through their rain-covered windows. The whole thing felt, I don't know, rehearsed somehow, like they'd done this before. The guy fixed my headlight in maybe 5 minutes. When I tried to pay him, he waved me off. But then he asked for my phone number in case the bulb goes out again. I gave it to him because, he just helped me out. He wrote down his number on this crumpled receipt, but I noticed later one of the digits looked wrong, like he'd changed it on purpose. I drove home thinking about how nice some people can be. My cat, Mr. Whiskers, was waiting by the door when I got back, doing that thing where he rubs against your legs and purrs really loud. 2 days later, I saw a Facebook post from the Cincinnati Police Department. They were warning people about a car theft crew operating near highway exits. These guys would pretend to help drivers with car trouble, then steal their information or their cars. They specifically mentioned they targeted people with broken headlights. I checked my bank account that same day. There were 3 cash withdrawals I definitely didn't make. Someone had used my debit card at an ATM on Route 7, the same night I followed that helpful stranger. But here's what really gets me. How did they know my headlight was going to blow out that exact night? You ever have one of those nights where everything goes wrong? Well, let me tell you about mine. I'm Jonah Perez, by the way. This happened to me about 6 months ago, and I still can't drive past a tow truck without getting this weird feeling in my gut. So I was driving back from my cousin's place in Toledo, Ohio. It was like 3:30 in the morning, and I was tired as hell. I had just finished helping him move his couch. You know how family is, always asking for favors at the worst times. Anyway, I'm cruising down I-75 when suddenly my car just spins out. Black ice. Didn't even see it coming. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in a ditch with my Honda Civic looking like it went through a blender. My phone was dead too, because of course it was. I forgot to charge it before leaving Toledo. About 20 minutes later, this tow truck shows up. Driver was this skinny guy with yellow teeth, smelled like Marlboro Reds. He was way too happy for 3:40 a.m. "No problem, buddy," he says over the CB radio. "I can take you to our lot off exit 18. We do fast releases there. Real convenient for insurance calls." I should have known something was up right then, but I was cold, tired, and just wanted to get home to Cleveland, so I said sure, whatever. The ride was weird. He kept talking to other drivers on the radio, calling them his boys, kept saying stuff like, "got another one," and laughing. I figured it was just tow truck driver humor or something. You know how those guys are. When we got to the lot, it was this fenced area behind a Shell station. None of the security lights worked. Just darkness everywhere. There were 2 other tow trucks parked there, and their drivers came walking over with these big smiles. One guy offered me coffee from a thermos. The other one asked if I needed a ride somewhere. "We get a lot of late-night customers," the coffee guy said. "Always happy to help." Something about the way they all looked at each other made me uncomfortable, like they were sharing some inside joke. The main driver said I could leave my car there overnight and call my insurance in the morning. They'd handle everything. I got a ride to the Greyhound station in Sandusky from one of the other drivers. He didn't talk much, just kept humming this tune I couldn't recognize, dropped me off and drove away real quick. A week later, my insurance adjuster called. "Mr. Perez," she said, "I hate to tell you this, but your car's been stripped. Catalytic converter's gone, all your tools from the trunk, even that Garmin GPS you had." Turns out the whole thing was a setup. That tow yard was a front for a chop shop. The cop I talked to said they'd been investigating for months. Local bail bonds business was tipping them off about accidents, targeting out-of-towners with dead phones. Perfect victims. "They probably had someone watching that stretch of road," the officer explained. "Soon as they saw you spin out, they called it in." Months later, I found out they caught the whole crew, found dozens of unpaid invoices and a list of license plates they'd been tracking across 3 counties. All those boys the driver kept talking to on the radio. Now I think about all the little details, how he knew exactly where to take me, how the other drivers were just waiting there, how they all seemed so damn friendly. Makes me wonder, how many other people got pulled into that lot at 3 a.m., thinking they were just getting help from some good Samaritans? But here's what really keeps me up at night. What if I hadn't left when I did? I still think about that night at the Denny's off I-80 near Des Moines, Iowa. I pulled in around 1:10 a.m., tired from driving back from Chicago, and I needed the bathroom and a Coca-Cola. My name is Jonah Carver, and I drive a 2011 Subaru Outback with a spare tire in the trunk because I never travel light. The parking lot was dim. One guy stood near my car when I got out. He waved and said, "Trunk's open, man." I thanked him and walked to the restroom. He asked if I wanted him to watch the car. I laughed like an idiot and said, "Nah, I'm only 2 minutes." He insisted. I remembered my knees hurt and how the floorboards at my place creaked when my cat ran across them. Little things stuck in my head. I didn't have cash. I told him I had cards, so I shoved the keys in my wallet, under the floor mat. I still don't know why I said that. Rookie move. He said he'd hold them while I ate. He seemed normal. He wore a faded Cubs cap and smelled like cheap coffee from a Shell down the road. Inside Denny's, the waitress had a lipstick smudge on her notepad and asked if I wanted fries. I ordered a Coca-Cola and sat at the counter. I watched the door. I stayed 20 minutes, ate slow, checked my phone, checked the lot. I thought, this is dumb, but I didn't go out. My logic was stupid. He was right there. He seemed friendly, and I was hungry. When I walked back out, the lot looked different. The man was gone. My trunk was shut. The spare tire was missing. So was a black duffel under the spare with receipts, insurance papers, and old tools. I felt my hands tremble. I flipped the floor mat and the keys and wallet were gone. I remember swearing, saying, "You motherfucker," into the empty lot and feeling small. I went back inside and asked to see security footage. The manager was slow but helpful. The footage showed 2 people. One talked to me near the car while I was in the restroom. The other came from behind a pickup, bent into my trunk for maybe 20 seconds, then walked off with the duffel and tire. They met by a blue Chevy and exchanged something small, a quick handoff. No fighting, just efficient hands. A detective from Polk County told me later it's a known trick. Friendly stranger, Quick question about the spare. Partner slips valuables. He said it's not violent, just clean and fast. He asked why I left the keys where I say I was tired, embarrassed, and lazy. I still hate admitting it. The worst part wasn't losing the spare or receipts. It was how easy they made my routine look. I had trusted a voice in a dark lot. Now I check the car from the driver's seat before I step away. Now I carry nothing in the trunk at night. I still sleep with the living room light on sometimes, and the kettle on the stove makes an echo that reminds me of the cashier humming the same song. People laugh or roll their eyes when I tell the story. Sometimes I drive past that Denny's and stop, just to look. Then I ask them to think, how many times have you left keys and reach for a helpful voice in a parking lot? Would you do the same if you knew what they are silently counting?